Back on Closer Look on this Wednesday, the 23rd day of July, with Michael Friscolanti, Tiger. Not tonight, though.
Not tonight. No, the Tigers.
What the hell is going on with your team?
They're struggling. We try not to make this podcast too personal, but anyone who's listened long enough knows that I'm a big Tigers fan and you're a Blue Jays fan, sort of fair weather Blue Jays fan.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll find some coattails and ride them. Yes. Bandwagon to hop on, you know.
Big series this weekend, 4-gamer at Comerica Park.
Huge. So you guys lost earlier today, 6-1. Mm-hmm. So your lead in the West is down to
the Central.
The Central.
Clearly a fair weather baseball. I don't know. It's down to 9 or something, but
8, I think.
But more importantly, we're now like basically tied with the other division leaders. So who gets the bye in the playoffs?
Yes.
This is huge breaking news for our listeners.
It is, yeah. A little self-indulgent, but if the Jays win tonight, first pitch moments away, they'll win that series over the Yankees and could restore that 4-game lead in the East.
Yeah. Well, it is big news, though. I do tune in once in a while to the Jays games on Sportsnet there, and the place is packed. I don't think any team in baseball has a better home record than the Jays. It's like a very hostile place to play. Now, you don't want to go there as a visiting team.
41,000 in attendance.
It's a party. They've redone the whole place. It's like
looks great.
Every section just seems like it's a big bar. People are just drinking.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Canada's team. Mm-hmm. Elbows up. Like Edwin Encarnacion.
Is he on the coaching staff? I thought I saw him in the dugout the other day. Is he a coach? Again, you wouldn't know because you're not that big of a fan.
Wow, you're
Go Jays, woo!
Pointing out all my shortcomings tonight. That's fantastic.
Speaking of shortcomings.
And speaking of Jays fans, Nate Erskine-Smith, the MP from Beaches, East York.
Yes, Nate, who's definitely,
in the news.
To your credit, you've been asking Nate for a couple weeks, I think, now to come on the show. And he happens to come on right when his name's all over the news. Because
everywhere you
look. A Substack he wrote to supporters about his thoughts on the upcoming leadership review for Bonnie Crombie in September at the convention, the Ontario Liberal Party convention. He's arguing that she should get at least 60. If she doesn't get at least 66% of support, she should resign.
Right.
And her supporters seem to be saying that 50.1% is just fine. That's enough to stay along.
How can you possibly think that only having half of your party's support? And I know that's always been the way
it is. The Constitution, I think of, yeah.
But really, when you think about it, I think half your team likes you, half.
Well, we're going to get it. Yeah, we're going to get into this with Nate. I was going to make a joke about you and your team, but I won't.
Wow, I could just leave now and you could finish this yourself.
Well, there's an argument to be made. Now I totally forget what we were talking about.
The 50%.
Yeah, but I was thinking about something, but you totally distracted me with that.
What I do
with that comment. I think, the argument you made, and her supporters are making this argument, that they have some momentum. They won 30% of the popular vote. They're back to official party status. You don't want to blow that up now when you actually have some momentum. And obviously Nate's been arguing in his writings about this that it's not much of a difference. They gained a little bit of support. They didn't have the major breakthroughs that they promised. Bonnie Crombie didn't even win her seat that she was running in. So he has a difference of opinion. He hasn't been clear about whether he would run for the leadership, even though he did. He finished second in their last leadership race in 2023. Correct, yeah. He hasn't made it clear that he will run. We're obviously going to ask him that flat out when he comes on the show today. We'll see what he has to say.
All right, let's find out. Joining us tonight on a Closer Look is Nate Erskine-Smith, the MP for Beaches, East York. Nate, every news feed I've read in the last few weeks has your name all over it. We'll get to that in a sec, but great to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, so let's start with what everyone's talking about. Nate, last Friday you wrote an email blast calling for change within the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party. Simply put, you're extremely critical of Bonnie Crombie and believe that unless she receives the minimum of 2/3 support at the annual general meeting, which is coming up in September, that she should resign. Why did you do that?
For a few different reasons. I mean, one, I was frustrated that the team was trying to socialize 51% of delegated members voting in support of continued leadership as some acceptable number. I mean, the convention in Canadian politics, for as long as I've followed, is a minimum of 66%. And I don't think we should move away from that. I mean, if you can't earn 66% support from your own members, good luck in a general election. And so when I saw that happening, and let's be honest, it's a delegated convention. So if you live outside of Toronto, if you live in Northern Ontario, if you live in rural Ontario, the cost is prohibitive. It's $375 for an adult who isn't low income. It's thankfully a little cheaper for a student, but it's prohibitive on the cost side. It's prohibitive for anyone who wants to travel and get a hotel or stay in Toronto for the night. And it excludes too many people. And so that combined with the fact that they were moving to 51% as some threshold, I just wanted to call to say, one, participate. However you vote, whatever you think, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think there isn't change required. Participate in this process, get involved and make your voice heard. So that was point number one. Two, look, on the question of change, I participated in a leadership race where many of us were calling for engaging in every corner of this province, and then that didn't happen in the course of Crombie's tenure. They were unprepared for the general election. Yes, there were modest improvements, a 6% bump in the overall numbers. But look, we got official party status, but we're still in third place. We were promised to go from third to first in that leadership race, and we've fallen short. And so my view, and this isn't about me. I want a competitive race. I want a number of people to put their name forward in a really competitive race and grow this party and be ready to win.
Is this the right time for another leadership race already?
Yeah, completely. Of course. I mean, we saw at the federal level the importance of changing leaders in a particular moment. And I don't, anyone looking at the last provincial campaign honestly would say we didn't do as well as we could and should have. And more to the point, we put winning in the leadership race ahead of ideas and grassroots rebuilding. We're basically back to square one. We have not done the work that we could and should have done post that leadership race in December 2023. So yeah, I think we need a new leader who's going to energize people, motivate people, inspire people to get involved in our politics, to articulate a case, a set of ideas and values that's going to inspire people to get involved in our politics, and to really prosecute a case for change, and to do the hard work of traveling to Northern Ontario and rural Ontario and all across this province and every corner of this province to rebuild the core volunteer and engagement and grassroots engagement of our Ontario Liberal Party. And a leadership does that. I just want to be clear about that. I've heard talk, it's going to be expensive. Oh, not now. This isn't the time. At the end of the day, the Ontario Liberal Party was more engaged in 2023 with Ontarians in a leadership race than it has been at any point since. I think we're going to attract talent. We're going to attract donations. We're going to attract engagement and public attention. And that's what we want. We want to rebuild this party in a serious way. Are you one of those talents, Nate? Will you run if she's no longer the leader after the September convention? I mean, maybe. I've written that in my post to say, honestly, of course I have an interest. I hope there are others too. I know there's some people who have said, this is Nate versus Bonnie 2.0. Far from it. Like I've spoken to others and encouraged others to participate. I think there's lots of talent in this party. I can think of folks at Queen's Park right now. Karen McCrimmon is an excellent voice. And that caucus is still small, but there are really strong members in that caucus. Ted Hsu ran in the last time. He'd be excellent if he ran again. You've got others at the federal scene. I'm going to annoy Karina Gould every chance I get to encourage her to run. There are folks who have been in politics previously who would be great. I just think we will have a very competitive race, more competitive than last time. And maybe I throw my hat in the ring. I have an interest, obviously. It's a question for family principally. But as I said in the post, it's also about team, right? Like if I'm going to do this again, if I do it again, I would have to look around the room and see 20 people who want to be candidates with me, who want to build this with me, and who want to win together, but also govern together in a serious way. And so, I'm going to let the members make their decision before I make mine. And the members have a really important decision in front of them. Do they think that the status quo is good enough? I've weighed in to say I don't think so, but it's up to the members to decide.
Nate, a lot of Liberal MPs have come to Crombie's defense since your email. One said he's, quote, tired of this crap from yourself and other so-called insurgents. Another took a veiled shot at you saying, our cause is a collective one, not of personal ambition. How do you respond to those?
I think I responded to this in posts if folks care to read it. When I said at the end of the day, being a team player is caring about what is best for the team in the long run. And I don't think the status quo is good enough for the team. I think we have seen that. And so, look, are you on Team Crombie or are you on Team Ontario Liberal Party and Team Ontario, wanting what's best for our party and what's best for our province? I don't think our best foot forward is the current leadership. I think they've shown that. They had a shot. They did the opposite of what they said they were going to do in many respects. The fact that it's a delegated convention and excludes grassroots participation all across this province speaks volumes. The fact that across 2024. We did not see the leader engage Ontarians in a serious way. We didn't see any visibility. We didn't see a real prosecution of the case or preparation for what everyone knew was going to be an early election. So, look, I lived through federally a situation where we saw a leadership change recently, and that leadership change and that leadership race was very, very good for our party. I think we should learn some lessons from that, and we should say what is best for our party in this given moment. It's change at the top, and it's real renewal.
Nate, have you talked to Bonnie personally?
I have exchanged messages over the months and the years since the leadership race. And I want to be clear about this too. Like I have offered my help. I offered my help right out of the gate. So we had coffee after the leadership race in December 2023. And I said, I will help in any way. My team will help in any way. How can we help? And the response was, well, great, maybe you can help engage young liberals. And there was a dismissiveness there that, when the convention came around, the last convention, they chose to platform Christy Clark instead of team building with Yasser, myself, and other leadership candidates. I think that's the wrong way to go about building a team. So after the next leadership race, if we have one, whoever the next leader happens to be, they've got to pull everyone together and pull all of the teams together to make sure we're marching together in the right direction for this province. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a personal thing. I have nothing. I have no ill will. I have no personal grievance, no axe to grind as far as it goes. I want what's best for the party. And I think if a lot of liberals reflect on the federal scene and the provincial scene today, and they think, if I want what's best for the party, do I think this current leadership is going to drive that change home that I really want to see at Queen's Park? It's the same question we faced back in December, January, February for our federal party. Mm-hmm. And I think as liberals, we've got to reflect on that. Is it a question of loyalty to dear leader, or are we going to do what's best for our party?
Mm-hmm. Is it frustrating to hear some people remark that you vanished essentially during the provincial election campaign, that you weren't around to help? Because you're saying another side of that story.
Well, it's not, sure. I mean, there's a little bit of frustration, but that's not really the story. Look, if anyone was paying attention, they would have seen that not only did I bring my whole team to help Mary Margaret McMahon, I offered help. That help was accepted. Not only did I do a fundraiser for Mary Margaret, we thumped in Peaches East York. Mary Margaret won handily because of her own efforts, because she's an incredible advocate here locally, but also because we worked really well as a team. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that didn't happen at a broader level, but at the end of the day, you can only offer your help. It's mm-hmm. got to be accepted. And my goal in all of this is to make sure that everyone is engaged. And do I want personal attacks? Not particularly. Do I want this to be about me? Not at all. This is about what is best for the party and what direction we want for the party. And look, if people want Crombie to stay, great. They should make that case. Mm-hmm. And what I haven't heard a defense of, which is very, very telling, no one has articulated the case for 50% plus one. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's defending the status quo should really make that case, because that is unheard of in Canadian politics.
Mm-hmm. We do want to move on to some other questions. I appreciate this. But just to be clear, you have not decided whether you would run for the party leadership should Bonnie Crombie not get the support of the party.
No. I think I was honest about that in the post, that I have an interest, but it's not a decision I'm going to take until the members have made theirs, and there are lots of factors to consider, and so I think there ought to be change. I want a very competitive race, and this really is not about me.
Mm-hmm. Let's shift to the federal side. Then you are still currently an MP, like Scott mentioned at the top of the show, and as you know, the Carney government's obviously very engaged in what's happening in the United States in the negotiations with U.S. President Donald Trump and his administration. How do you think things are going? What are you being told?
Well, I think, look, there are ongoing challenges because of the mercurial nature of the administration south of the border. And so, one day it's one thing and the next day it's something completely different. And you're at 25% tariffs and then you're at 50% tariffs. And I think it's tough to respond in a rational way when you're faced with that kind of irrationality. I think we have to keep taking the case to the American people to say, we're your friends and neighbors and this is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. Especially in swing states, especially in advance of the midterms, you've got states that have a lot of Canadian loyalty. You've got states that have a lot of connections, business-wise and family-wise, to Canada, and we should be emphasizing that at every opportunity. On core issues, including around steel, I think you've seen the government come out and say, we're going to have targeted measures to support businesses, we're going to have targeted measures to support workers in need, and we're going to continue to be responding in a forceful way, but a measured and thoughtful way at the same time. And, am I hopeful that we get to a deal in a short-term way? Not based on what we've heard out of the United States, but I'm confident that the administration is working as hard as they can and that they're seized with it in a serious way.
Nate, if we can, let's go back to April after the election when Prime Minister Carney removed you from cabinet. You said at the time that it was impossible not to feel disrespected by that move. Do you still feel that way?
Look, I've spoken to the Prime Minister. There's a certain amount of water under the bridge. I mean, in that letter, I was, honesty can get you in trouble in politics.
Yes, it can.
But,
yeah, we always want more honesty until you're too honest, and then nobody wants it.
Yeah, but I think it's still better to be honest. I think cynicism in politics is a really problematic thing. Trust in politics and politicians is a really problematic thing. And I'd rather the occasional drive-by article that doesn't take seriously what I've actually written, if it means maintaining a sense of honesty and integrity. And in that letter, yeah, I said that. I also said I wish the government well. I'm going to be there to constructively support the new Minister of Housing. And there was more disappointment than anything that I wasn't able to continue to make a difference on that file. But I was going to continue to support the government, support my colleagues, and I highlighted some colleagues who hadn't had an opportunity to serve that I was really happy now have an opportunity to serve in cabinet. And there are no guarantees in this life. But look, I'm coaching baseball. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm here locally more. We got the Jazz Fest coming up this weekend. We had the 7-year anniversary, an incredible tragedy of the Danforth shooting yesterday, and I was able to be present for the families and friends of Reese Fallon. So being present more locally is really important too. And look, there was no one more vocal around C5 than I was in the House. So I'm going to keep doing the job federally. I was laughing because some people are doing a drive-by to say, focus on the provincial level, not the federal level. Look, no one's been more present in the community. No one's been more vocal on C5. I've got work lined up ready for the fall when we to hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. And the fact I sent an email out, I'm encouraging folks to attend the convention, I hope is a good thing because we need both parties, federal and provincial, to be at full strength.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit. I appreciate you saying you've had lots of chances to speak with Prime Minister Carney. This might seem like a dumb question. From the outside, we see what he's up against and what he's dealing with, specifically with President Trump. What do you see from the inside? How is he doing in terms of how he's doing the job and how he's handling things?
Yeah, I would be less specific. I mean, I think he has rightly articulated the need to move quickly, and he's rightly articulated the need to, break down interprovincial trade barriers, for example. He articulated the need to not only push back against the United States with some measure of force, but also to ensure that we are building a really strong and resilient economy here at home. He rightly moved the needle to get us closer to 2% quite quickly on defense spending and has a more ambitious plan on that front. I would say internally, I'm hopeful that they're going to be really ready to hit the ground running in the fall, just on a staffing level. And David Lametti coming in as principal secretary and Marc-Andre Blanchard coming in as chief of staff, that bodes well because I think the interim situation had some challenges as far as it goes. So I'm really looking forward to the administration, as it were, and especially the Prime Minister's office, really hitting the ground running. But I think he's done. I think he's been out there saying the right things. I think coming to grips with Parliament and how Parliament needs to do its work, and C5 is a good example of this. I think Parliament was probably given short shrift in a way that it shouldn't have been. I said as much in my speech in the House, and I hope there's some balance struck there between moving quickly, but also making sure the legislation is fit for purpose before it gets out the door. Mm-hmm. I suppose the last thing I'll say, and it's just we have a lot we need to do. It's an ambitious agenda, and we've got to show people now that we're moving with speed, but also ambition, especially I would say on housing, right? So we need to show Canadians the wartime effort that we promised them. And on the flip side, not just Trump, but Carney rightly is seen as a steady hand for the economy. And I think we need to show that we are managing the economy, but also more importantly, the fiscal books in a sustainable, well managed way. Mm-hmm. And so, having a careful eye on the bottom line, we've got a tax cut we've promised that is, I think, pretty tricky when it's deficit finance. So we've just got to keep an eye on those things, mm-hmm. and I have confidence he will.
I appreciate it. Just a couple more questions. Thanks again, Nate, for your time. In terms of housing in particular, you were the housing minister. What is the biggest challenge on that file? We talk about housing every day in this country. What's the biggest challenge in terms of getting the housing we need?
Well, there are many challenges. I mean, there are three that I would emphasize. One is we need to make sure that we are unleashing the market to build market supply, and there are still too many constraints. There are municipalities like Edmonton that have done most or everything right in terms of ensuring there's a welcome playing field for business to want to do business and want to build, and builders to actually do the work that we need. And as a consequence, when you see CMHC's analysis, they'll say, look, like municipalities and provinces pretty much have to double their supply, but not Edmonton, actually. There are some areas that are doing it right. And so one, we just have to really get out of the way so the market can build. And at the federal level, we can push and pull. It's municipal and provincial governments that really control, really have the keys there. The federal spending power is really important. And on the non-market side, it's incredibly important. We need, I hope in this budget cycle in the fall, and because we're a little off cycle, again, we didn't have a budget in the spring. And so I hope we see a budget cycle in the fall that is going to really lean into that wartime effort on housing, to see us realize maximizing public land, but also realizing federal dollars for delivering affordable housing in perpetuity in a really serious way at a scale we haven't seen today, because we're moving in the right direction, but it's a challenge. And the third thing is just, we need to treat housing as a home first and an investment second. And I don't think the government is as seized with that question as it can. But I'm not gonna, I don't want to Bigfoot the minister in any way, but I'm going to keep, I'm going to continue to be I think a positive and constructive force as much as I can be on the housing file, and suggesting ideas in hopefully as constructive a way as I can.
All right, let's get to the serious stuff. I know you're a big Jays fan. They've got a 3-game lead in the East as we sit here. How do you like the team this year, Nate? What are their chances?
They're the best team since the 93 team. I have not felt as a fan that if we were down 6 runs, I'd be like, okay, well, we can come back. I would be like, okay, well, on to the next game. This game's gone. So the Schneider's gonna have a tough time when with a full slate of healthy players, because we have so many good players who've been contributing, and it's really been a team approach. Everyone's contributing a different way. So I was saying before we start recording, I hope they add an arm for the bullpen so we can shore that up. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic. And they won the World Series when I was 8 and 92 and 9 and 93. And I was telling my son, who is a huge baseball fan, like I coach his baseball team, he's 8 turning 9. So I was like, this might be the year, The only problem, I'll say this, my son is a Jays fan. Sure, I mentioned I got family in Michigan. They're Tigers fans, so that'll be its own battle. But if we make it to the World Series and they're against the Dodgers, which may well happen, my son is also a big Shohei fan. So he's going to have divided loyalties. I don't know how that lands.
That's going to be tough.
I spend every night sitting next to a Tigers fan.
Yeah, like I said before we got on, a huge Tigers fan. The Jays and Tigers are playing for 4 games coming up
this weekend.
It just the end of that conversation remind, if only everything was as simple as talking about baseball.
Wouldn't it be great?
The world would be a beautiful place.
Nate, before we let you go,
politics wise, I'll say this though. This is one thing that just generally for you can make a case. I don't think I made a very personal case against the current leadership provincially, right? I made a case to say, we didn't do as well as we should have done. The ideas in grassroots rebuilding didn't occur in the way that they should have occurred. This isn't personal. This isn't like I don't love the drive-by personal attacks, regardless of who's making them, regardless of political party stripe. Melissa Landsman went at me in the federal election in a similar way, and I just got no time for it. We can disagree. We can be fans of different teams. We can disagree in politics without making it personal and just on the facts of it. And then I hope that's as we proceed closer to September. That's what this is about.
All right. Before we let you go, I'm pretty sure the answer isn't Bonnie Crombie, but who would your dream guest be on your wonderful Uncommons podcast?
I had Jane Goodall on, and that was cool. That was a highlight. I would love to have, especially in keeping with all things Canada-US, I would love to have more of an American presence on it. Mm-hmm. And probably Obama's not joining me, but if I had Obama on, it'd be a pretty top-notch guest.
That'd be pretty amazing.
No kidding. Yeah. We'd love to get him too. Nate Erskine-Smith, the MP for Beaches, East York. Great to see you again, Nate. Appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, interesting. He didn't come right out and say that he was going to throw his hat into the ring.
Yeah, it'd be hard to imagine that he's not going to do that. And he did do his best effort. He made his best effort to say this is not personal.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not personal, but it is personal when you finish second in a leadership race you can't help but make it a little bit personal. And obviously he doesn't think that the party's been going in the right direction under the person who finished first while he finished second.
Of course, yeah.
And then he's looking to make that happen.
And the other consideration, of course, is he's still representing constituents at the federal level
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
So it would be somewhat unfair to.
Yeah. And and some reporting has suggested that some fellow MPs have expressed concern to the Prime Minister that he's doing this on the side. Whether that's true or not, who knows? That's what the reports are saying. We should have asked him, this would have been a great way to ask, we should have said, well, when you run for the Liberal leadership, will you come back on the show? Then he would have had to say, oh, yeah, no.
We'll get him back. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He certainly likes our Jays over your Tigers later this week.
And I forgot, I knew he has a podcast. It's pretty popular. I remember that when he came on and he had his podcast set up. I wonder if he's asked for President Obama to come on the show. Have you asked?
I have not. We have reached out to the White House to get President Trump and or Howard Lutnick or any member actually of the senior team in the White House, but no response other than the standard kickback email.
Could you imagine how many media requests President Obama must get for him to come on their podcast or whatever it is they're doing?
He'd be great though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the mic drop moment. I think that would be the end of the show.
We'd be out.
Yeah.
All right. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, the Village Media Network, and of course, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We would love to have you subscribe and follow us and join us each and every weeknight, Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock right here. From Michael Friscolanti, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.